So, hello guys, Zane Mike here from Magma Productions Live. Now today I will be going over the Flash and Arrow crossover episodes. They aired this past Tuesday and last night. And honestly, I was very impressed, to say the least. Because, actually, I hadn't started watching Arrow since, oh gosh, I guess started around the beginning of November. Started watching Arrow. And I nearly binge watched both season 1 and 2 in a week. And so, I was able to get some grip on like what Arrow was about, and luckily the Flash has started this year, so I could start exactly with that. But no, just in general, like, so let's start with the first part, which happened during the Flash in the episode the Flash versus Arrow. No, in this episode, the main antagonist is, well, I don't know, there's a few names thrown around. There was Prism, and then there was Rainbow Raider. I will stick with Prism because that sounds a lot better than Rainbow Raider. Just a preference of mine. Anyways, and what his power is when he looks at somebody, his eyes glow red, and the person he looks at, their eyes glow red, and then the anger side of them kind of takes over everything, like their thinking process, and all the anger that is inside of them just completely unleashes, and they unleash that anger on everybody. They're almost like a destructive force at that point. Because really they got all this anger built up, and if you have a lot of anger built up and you go to release it, that can be really bad, or it could be slightly bad, but still, nonetheless, it's a bad thing. And so, Barry Allen is like, he's called, like, Cisco tells him that there's a bank robbery going on, and he's like, all right, I'm on it. He goes into the bank, saves all the people, but when he does, he looks at them and he realizes, holy crap, everybody is turning on each other. What is going on here? And later, when Joe and the rest of the police force are there to investigate the bank robbery, Barry's like, this was another metahuman, and he was like just here to kind of distract everybody else. And Joe's like, well, yeah, but he still got away with taking money from the bank. And luckily they had a tracker on the money, but just the fact that, like, people in the bank that, like, when you first saw them, you thought, oh, like, they couldn't be harmful at all. Well, some of them actually end up grabbing a gun and actually firing a gun at people. This is how much Prism changed everybody with their anger. It's like, literally, like, you may be good, but once you've met his gaze, it's like, yeah, throw that out the window. You are no longer good. Luckily, Barry, when he did save everybody, he was able to, like, everybody snuck back after Prism had left, obviously. But, like, they all got, I think, like, CAT scans or something. They were checked over by medics, and even after, like, the effects wore off, like, their brains still had that anger, anxiety growing. So that's the kind of the point of the episode, trying to catch Prism. And Barry gets a little too cocky at one point, and he actually takes goes to find Prism because they found him. But the bad thing about it is when he does, he actually looks right into Prism's eyes. Yeah, looks into Prism's eyes, and you see the glow in Barry's eyes. But it's different than the others because, like the others, it was a constant red. His was like kind of a flash red, almost. Like at first, when he went back to Star Labs after facing Prism, which Prism had escaped yet again. He seemed fine, but then as the day progressed, when he was talking to Eddie and the captain and everybody else he knew, his anger really came out. He was not himself. And so, like, when this happened, I mean, obviously Joe went to Star Labs to ask what was happening, and the funny thing is, like, before Barry actually did find Prism, one of the policemen that were, like, had a gun on Prism was actually, like, taken over by his anger, and almost, like, shot all the squad. But luckily, this is when Oliver Queen / Arrow comes in and shoots the guy down. And that's when Barry, when him are together. But, I mean, I don't know, it's interesting how, like, just how the Prism's powers work, really. I mean, I've heard that he's like it's from the comics, like Rainbow, like, I think it might be Rainbow Raider in the comics. I've heard that from people. I'm not sure if you know about, like, if it actually is Prism or if it actually is Rainbow Raider. Tell me, because I'm not really too sure, because I don't read too many comics. So I'm not entirely sure on the names. But anyways, so yeah, that story's coming out. But then, so we have the dynamic of Oliver Queen and Barry Allen again, which we saw in Arrow Season 2. Yes, in Arrow Season 2, when Barry came to Sterling City, but this was before he even had, super speed and everything. And of course the two were, like, they're friendly. I mean, Barry, Felicity, they're on good terms. Diggs is still trying to get over the fact that Barry has super speed. That was kind of interesting to see. But I mean, just the dynamic between Oliver and Barry was, I like the two together, and obviously it shows on screen that they work very well together. At first, though, Oliver was kind of like, like, we're not really here to, team up or anything. We're just here to find out evidence, find a killer, and leave. That's really all our intention is. But, I mean, eventually Felicity convinces Oliver to help Barry stop Prism. And so Barry and Oliver start training, and then the instant when Barry is, infected by Prism, at that point, Oliver is actually called in to take down Barry, because Barry is, like, literally, he's out of control at this point. There is no return from where he began. It's like he's on a rampage of anger right now, and I've got to give props to the choreographer and the producing team for Arrow and the Flash. I mean, I do agree Arrow probably has better choreography, but I will say the fight between Oliver Queen and the Flash, wow. It was a beautiful thing to see, and I mean, honestly, it was it was a great hero versus hero scene, which we don't see too many of those around these days. I mean, the new Batman v Superman's kind of like we're starting to get back to that, and of course Marvel Civil War, but I mean we haven't seen that too much on TV, like live action TV so much. So it was nice to see that. Barry was kicking Oliver's butt for a little while, and then Oliver actually out planned or out. He basically outdid Barry at the end, and he was able to take Barry down. And of course, Professor Wales was able to find a way to reverse the effect of Prism on Barry. And the funny thing is, once they get there and they flash the multiple lights into Barry's eyes, and he goes back. Oliver and Barry are holding onto each other's shoulders, and they're like almost limping, and they're like, Barry's like, "I'm so sorry," and Oliver's like, "Yeah, don't worry about it." And it's like you think they would hold a grudge, but luckily Oliver he knew that like Barry wasn't himself, and he was like, okay, he wasn't himself. He was under the control of Prism, and so, I mean, I can come in no slack because this really wasn't his doing. Later on, Barry does reveal though that he actually did have some anger to throw out onto Oliver, but once that's off his chest, the two decide to finally take down Prism and lock him up in Star Labs and the containment pods. And yeah, I mean, just kind of like, I mean, it was a great first part of the crossover, and I always love the dynamics between Caitlin, Cisco, and Felicity and Diggs. Kind of the behind the hero teams. When they're together, they're really good. So yeah, I mean, if I were to actually rate this episode, Summer Do TV, this is fun. I would actually, yeah, out of 10, I'd probably give this episode probably 8.5. I mean, it was good, don't get me wrong, but there were probably some points where it's like, yeah, you probably could have tightened this up a little bit and made this better. But yeah, overall, like, part 1 was awesome. So, yeah, I'm actually going to do this in 2 parts. So this is part 1. My next video will be part 2. And then in later, if you watch this out of order, there will be, or I will be doing, Arrow seasons 1, 2, and 3 so far, and Flash season 1. Kind of like the overviews of them. I'm not going to go by each episode, that take forever. But yeah, so stay looking for my part 2 of this, and I will see you guys later.